out here today on July 6th. We're out here to honor the lives lost. There was race massacres that happened here, that happened in America. In 1917, from July 3rd to July 6th, a racist white terrorist mob descended down on East St Louis Massacre right here in the streets. And they held a rally of hatred. They said that the black Americans here were stealing their jobs, that they were going to rape and pillage their towns and their homes, and that they needed to stop it. So on that day, July 3rd, they came through these streets, and right here where we're standing, smoke billowed everywhere. You saw homes, businesses set ablaze, on fire. Black American men, women, and children beaten, dragged, and lynched in the middle of the streets. Homes boarded up and set on fire where they couldn't come out. And homes set on fire that when they did come out, they were shot dead in the streets. And for 3 days, police, National Guard watched as this city was burnt to the ground by this mob. Now, the systemic effects of that race massacre, they burned down homes. They burned down homes that could have been passed down to generations now. To people that are unhoused right now, those homes could have been occupied by that family. Businesses, black-owned businesses that could have turned into Fortune 500 companies today, that could have employed thousands of black American employees. And because of that, those systemic effects, the homes that were burnt down, the businesses that were burnt down, you still see today. There are still lots that are empty that had homes on them. There's still lots that were empty that had business on them. And from that systemic effect has impacted our economic ability for equity and justice. That has impacted the families here in East St. Louis and has reverberated throughout history. And today we are still fighting for justice. Today, until this day, no one has received justice. Not one person was charged for that race massacre. Not one person. Not only that, the families that had insurance for their homes went and filed for insurance and they were denied. They were denied saying they didn't have ride insurance, but we all know they were only denied because they were black. They were denied because the system that America was built on systemic racism to hinder and hold back the black Americans, and that's exactly what they did with this race massacre. That's exactly what they did when they went for justice. That's exactly what they did when they only charged. The only person that was charged was a black man, Dr. Leroy Bundy. He was charged for starting the riot, for starting the race massacre, and he was nowhere a part of it. His home was burnt down. He lost everything, and then he was thrown into prison for it. That is not justice. And that's why we were here. Till this day, no justice has been held. Until this day, the effects of systemic racism has gripped black American community, has economically, educationally oppressed us for decades. So we are here today calling for reparations. Not only calling for reparations, we're pushing for justice. We are, we have the vice chair of the Illinois State Reparations Committee here. We have her here because we are pushing for state reparations. We are pushing for justice. The only way to bring real justice is to impact and affect legislation and policy. We can march in the streets. We could be loud, but if we're not changing the policies and the paperwork that allow them to do this to us, then we're not doing anything. And that's what we have to do, and that's why we're here. So I will not hold anybody up much longer. I'm going to get to it and get the people that are here pushing for justice, that are, and I don't get my phone out. But, so without further ado, I would like to introduce Chairman Taylor, who is the Vice Chair for the Illinois Reparations State Committee and also the Vice Chair for the Juneteenth Illinois Committee, who's responsible for raising, as you see, this Juneteenth flag and was responsible for officially making Juneteenth a holiday in Illinois. So everybody, please put your hands together.
Diversely awake and equipped crowd, understanding that there's a lot of things going on in our nation and abroad that we need to change, okay? Again, my name is Stephanie Taylor. I'm the Vice Chairman of the Illinois African Descent Citizens Reparations Commission. As we march today in memory of the East St. Louis race riots, we are reminded of the deep scars of racial injustice and economic disparities that have persisted for generations. Generations, y'all. And who are we but the land of Lincoln? Lincoln said it's up to future generations to look at these outdated laws and change them. Okay? Now our mission with the ADCRC is to address these injustices through a comprehensive reparations that acknowledge the past, repair the present, and build a just and equitable future for all of us. This commission is charged with examining the lasting impacts of slavery and systemic racism on African descendants in Illinois and developing actionable recommendations that the state of Illinois will move forward with. We are also dedicated to engaging with the community to ensure that our efforts are informed by those who have most been affected. On August 10th, we will hold a reparations public engagement hearing at East St. Louis High School, hosted by the Illinois Juneteenth Committee. This event will be a crucial opportunity for the community to share their experiences, their insights, and hopes for our future. Today's march is powerful. It's a powerful statement of our collective will to confront and rectify historical wrongs. It is a call to action for all in our state to lead by example in the national conversation on reparations. Together, we can pave the way for an equitable and inclusive future. All right? Let's do this. Let's do it.
Everybody put your hands together for Stephanie Taylor one more time. Up next from PSL, we're going to have a powerful activist, seeing her in the streets. She's out here with us, fighting for justice, fighting for equity every day. Everybody put your hands together for Claire.
Hey y'all. As already stated, my name is Claire, and I'm with the Party for Socialism and Liberation. And ever since my people were brought to the Western world, forced against their wills, on slave ships, we have been dehumanized and been in constant struggle for our freedom. We all know struggle. From the struggle we suffer when we're kids, to the struggle we face in independence during adulthood. We know no struggle like the Black American struggle. From struggling to free ourselves from slavery, to KKK terror and Jim Crow laws, to the revolutionary civil rights movement, to the racist war on drugs, mass incarceration, and the Black Lives Matter movement, Black people in the United States have been in constant militant struggle. The wealth of this country was built on my ancestors' backs for centuries. Our mothers, our fathers, grandparents fought and died just to get the right to vote. "107 years ago, thousands of Black people had left the South to come here to East St. Louis. Many of them were welcomed into unions and stood alongside white workers. Many of them found jobs in lumber yards and as machinists. Sorry, I lost my place.
Doing great.
Good.
Yay, Claire!
Thank you. They then went on strike and won better pay and better working hours, but their employers feared the growth of unions and the government, and then the government stepped in and said that the demands of World War I were too great and that strikes were not acceptable. Shame. Shame. The self-serving union workers and leaders and politicians blamed black people and leaned on the centuries of racism that is rooted in this country to tear the unity between black and white workers apart. This hate led to hundreds of black people being slaughtered and thousands of hardworking black people leaving East St. Louis. Friends, white supremacy is a tool of the billionaire class. It has been used to justify the enslavement and mass murder of our people. This hate is built into the heart of our capitalistic system. It is the same hate that turns us against our brothers and sisters in Palestine as they face a genocidal threat by Israel on the U.S. taxpayers' dime. The Palestinians are the same people who painted George Floyd on their apartheid wall. This apartheid wall that symbols that they are less than human. The same people who gave us advice on how to handle the police brutality and tear gas that was being used against us in Ferguson.
That's right.
This is the same hate that tells us that Cuba is a terrorist state and that we must strangle their people into submission for daring to liberate their land of slavery and capitalism. This is the same hate that sees nearly $1 trillion spent on the military every year, while our people struggle with healthcare, poor housing, lack of education, unclean water, and access to food. This is the same hate that denies us the right to shelter, but will throw us in prison if we're sleeping on the streets. These issues were created by capitalism, and not by accident. They exist because of the system. The Democrats, the Republicans, it doesn't matter who they pick. Capitalists cannot solve these issues, and they will never pay what they owe. The bloodthirsty white supremacist system that is capitalism must be torn down and replaced with a socialist system that will pay reparations to our communities. A socialist system that ends police terror and brings back the power of the people. End the war on Black America, and there is no freedom until we're all free. Thank you.
All right, everybody put it together for Claire one more time. Let's go, make some noise, make some noise. And I want to say again, as we're out here calling for reparations, one of the biggest things that they always say is like, how can America pay reparations? Well, let their lie be dispelled right now. America has paid out reparations. America has paid out actually more than $2 billion in reparations to the indigenous, to Asian Americans, and to the indigenous and Asian Americans. Over $2 billion, but not $1 to any Black American that's descendants built this country for free. So when we call for reparations, we're not calling for something that hasn't been given out. We're not calling for something that is impossible. We're calling for something that America has been doing, that has done it since the 1950s. So we are calling for justice. We are calling for reparations. We are calling for equity. We're calling for this system to be overhauled. We're calling, and we are calling for the rights. I'm sorry, excuse me, forgive me. We are calling for the wrongs to be written that has been handed down on Black Americans since our ancestors was dragged here from their homelands during the transatlantic slave trade. So everybody, I thank you all again for coming out. We're about to start this march. Everybody put your hands together one more time. Make some noise. And everybody, we are going to be coming out. We're going to start. We're going to gather right here in front of the cars, right here in front of the streets, and then we're going to be making a left. As we are marching, we're going to have Humanitarian of the Year recipient Lorenzo Savage. As we're on our march, we will be walking by East St Louis Race Massacre markers, and he'll be speaking. He'll give a little speak out on each of the markers and the significance of it, because this is what happened in our city. This is what happened here. So we are going to make sure we honor the lives. We're going to get the information out, and we're going to push and fight for justice and reparations. So let's go. Yeah.